All right, got everybody. Oh, and Esmond already getting comments too. Wonderful. Okay. Should we get started?
Yes.
All right. Oh. Yep, hanging out. Heather says hello too. All right. Well, welcome to the first group reading, everybody. Super excited to have you all. This will be so fun. The astrology that Thomas was talking about this morning is the moon is actually conjunct Neptune today. So perfect day to talk some astrology.
Also, Mercury in Aquarius is in a square with Uranus in Taurus.
Yep. Yeah, at the 15th degree. Love to see it. Cool. Here, I have...
We couldn't have picked a better time, and we didn't look at the chart.
We did not, no. It was a choice between 2 days, and we just picked one, and the astrology ended up really nice. I'm gonna throw slides into the screen too. All right, just a quick disclaimer, just that this is here for educational purposes, and all comments are sole opinions of the participants and in no way construes medical or psychological advice and should not be taken as such. Okay, so...
Kristin,
yes.
Let me just interject here that Melissa had
absolutely.
a great point as we were talking beforehand also, that everybody's presence here as we continue is agreement that these are going to be live on Facebook and YouTube and will be stored on Facebook and YouTube. Anything private that you don't want mentioned, then be sure to exclude that before we begin, okay? So just be aware, and just to say, as they say in these disclaimers, by proceeding, you're agreeing.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's any aspects or anything that anybody, has already studied and doesn't want to get into, totally feel free to just have somebody move on. And again, too, if my Mercury and Gemini starts to get a little wordy and a little too astrological, we need to back up and kind of see what we're actually looking in the chart. Totally feel free to stop me then as well. So I'm going to start throwing charts up. If we're good with that, then. So we're starting with Brenda because it's her birthday.
And Brenda just dropped out.
Oh, okay. Should we move on and go back to Brenda then?
Yes, let's do that. Looked like she was having some... Oh, she's back. Here she is. There we are. Happy birthday Brenda. To you.
Yeah. Just a quick tune.
Thank you.
Oh, looky here. We have another one. What a great day.
Happy birthday.
Oh, wow. Look at double birthday. Kat in the comments. Happy birthday to you, too.
Love those red shoes.
Okay. Let's see. Can everybody see that well? I wish I actually just did some with just the charts. Because now that is a little small for me. Okay. So, does anybody want to start on the first thing that stands out to them in this chart?
I'm seeing those T squares and that grand trine. Anytime I see the shapes, I get excited.
Absolutely.
Here.
That's exactly what stood out to me as well, is that grand trine, the moon exactly trine to Venus. Love to see it. And so we're talking about an air trine here. So very, very positive when it comes to ideas, communication, all of the things that are air related. I say the other shape that I had noticed is, now granted, astro.com does not show the line in this chart, but there is a kite formation with Chiron at the front, that Jupiter to Chiron, especially because it is applying, where Jupiter will be moving into Aquarius, in especially the progress chart. So that I also was on my radar, especially because your 50th birthday, you're going through a Chiron return. So I know Thomas probably has a little more to say about that, just because he's gone through one. And I've, in the podcast, he tells a story about his Chiron return, and that really opening him up to astrology. Do you want to touch on that a little bit, Thomas?
Yeah, and we can have a group vote here too. If that chart is too small, I have everybody in Astro Gold. So if you want, I can share them, but everybody's birth info is on there and there's no way I can not share it. So you guys make the call on that. We didn't quite anticipate the smallness of that. So you guys just let us know what you want to do. Everything for me shifted. Everything that's in the Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast happened after and triggered by the Chiron return. For me, it was huge.
Yeah. Chiron return, and anybody who hasn't studied Chiron, it is the asteroid that is known as the Wounded Healer. So it definitely gives a positive, especially later in life, as you kind of progress with age. So love to see that it is leading, especially the moon, because that here we're talking about emotions as well. And let's see, in the 4th house, if you're doing equal, but it would technically be the 5th in whole sign. So I know that when it comes to different charts, there's a lot of people that use different that could fall in different. I kind of tend to use both, especially in a little bit of overlapping with the chart ruler. So in this case, it would be a 5th house ruled aspect too. Let's see. Let me pull up my notes. Are there anything else that anybody sees?
Let's ask Brenda. Brenda, what specifically would you like to have us look at?
I just wanted to have fun with this, see what people saw, and for me to be able to identify the houses and the planets and the signs, and kind of be able to look at it and like, oh, okay, that's what they're talking about. So, anything that you guys want to point out, that's good, I guess. I don't know if I have a question.
Okay, well, we'll keep going.
Astrologer's choice sounds like.
It looks like Pluto is sitting on her Jupiter right now. Or that's the solar arc, right?
No, this is transit chart. You are correct. Yeah, exact. Yep. Yeah. In the studying I've done in that aspect, I think my favorite thing that I've read is a Robert Hand quote, and it really talks about like rebirth of spirituality. Brenda, does that resonate at all? I know you've been studying astrology a bit more lately.
Oh yes, definitely. We had kind of played around with it years ago, and I've bought all the books and had all this stuff, and then they've just been collecting dust. And within the last definitely 6 months, I was really drawn to coming back and looking at, charts and cards and the spirituality about it. And it is truly now my happy place. Like, I'm at work and I'm like, I want to be home reading my charts or someone else's chart. So yes, definitely. I feel like I've grown more and I've learned a lot. So yeah, that's definitely true.
I love that.
Kristin,
Go ahead, Thomas.
there's one that is kind of cool. If you look at this, you can see it from that chart right there. Look how all the transits are basically within 60 degrees of her nadir, or the cusp of the fourth house. See that? All the energy, all the transiting energy in her chart is at the bottom of the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very internal. And this is a lot of kind of deep work of the soul and things for you to process, not necessarily to broadcast. This is your time for you. And as these different things come up, just process through them, but they're lessons for you. They're thoughts for you. It's kind of like the journal that is never published or never read by anybody else, as most of them should be. But I just thought that really stood out.
I agree.
feel
That's
like
a really
there's
great.
a lot of spiritual subtleties in this chart, just in the natal chart alone. Brenda, are you creative at all?
I don't think I am, but everybody else around me says that I am. I can definitely. I've stepped away from it. I used to be a lot more creative. I used to just like to dabble with paint and even just doing projects. I would be, things naturally came to me. But I stepped away from that, and I feel like that is definitely something that is coming back out again because I started picking up the paintbrushes again and getting creative in little things that I do at school and stuff.
Nice. At school, are you a teacher?
Yes, I am currently a teacher.
That makes sense. What stood out to me is on your natal chart is this 6th house Saturn in Gemini is opposing your 12th house Ceres asteroid in Sagittarius. So I feel like you're almost, and with that like grand air trine, you kind of seem like a natural channeler almost. Like it might be something you're almost not conscious of, but maybe that's why you're like, I don't identify as a creative person, because it's so natural to you to kind of like get insights on seeing things from a different perspective, or like figuring out colors and how they work together and things like that. Does that resonate?
Yes, I think I am one to be like, oh, I don't know, but then if I'm put in a situation, then it just comes out, and I'm like, I don't know, then how that happened, just kind of worked out. And intuition wise too, like I don't think that I have intuition as what I think intuition is, but then I find myself saying things to people and it's resonating and then I'm like, wait, did I just say that? Like, where did that come from? So yeah, that totally makes sense for me.
Yeah, that's something I like latched on immediately, was this opposition that I mentioned between Saturn and Ceres.
Absolutely. I agree with you. The thing that I had noticed when it comes to intuition is your chart ruler is actually that 29-degree Jupiter. And with the rising sign being at 18, if we go decan wise, that puts the Mars actually. So second decan of Sagittarius is Aries. So then we look at Mars also in Capricorn. So the two communicating, and Mars is actually exalted in Capricorn as well. A little more structured there. Second house ruled, really great for self-worth and stuff, but being in Capricorn, again, something that really greatly gets developed later in life. Capricorns are known to be the late bloomers.
I would agree with you. I turned 50 today, so I think I'm just now catching up to it.
And I heard your comment on intuition where you don't think you have it, but then you have it. It's like, oh, hey, look. So it's just you forget that you have it. So reminder, you have it.
Thanks, Kim.
Definitely. Yeah, the other thing that with your birthday today, you are moving from a second house perfection year to a third house perfection year. So that puts communication for this next coming year as a big thing in the forefront for you. You know, development of your communication, and especially being an Aquarius, communication with your community as well, and how you're like showing up in those interactions.
Oh, good. Thank God, because my husband complains about that a lot, that I don't communicate enough. So, yay, this will be the year.
A couple things that like I just took notes of like things that stood out to me in this chart was the moon and Uranus conjunction. And that seems to, yeah, it seems like maybe some of the things you've said about like just picking up, some artistic endeavors again, and other people saying, you're really intuitive and you're really artistic, but you needed to pick it up in your own way, in your own time. I just think that's a little bit of that kind of Uranus energy coming in saying, well, yeah, I do have this, but I'm gonna do it my way. um and also, what else like really stood out to me was Neptune in the 12th house. Any like 12th house energy. I have a lot of it in my chart, and I feel like I'm always looking at charts being like, oh, that 12th house. And Neptune there, I think definitely just, yeah, points to, I mean, I think we probably all know it's like karmic stuff, but it's also that like, it felt like to me, like a search for something deeper. It's it, it's that like and also just like, being creative with those, um maybe shadow sides of things too. Yeah, those were the thoughts I had.
Definitely working on the shadow. So, yeah, that's spot on.
That's really good.
I'm gonna move over to this next chart because actually that right now currently in your secondary progressions you have Uranus conjunct your natal moon as well. So with that, I definitely can see where some of those Uranus and natal moon conjunctions could be a little bit stronger for you right now too, if you're doing any research on that part of your chart too, especially since it's the point, the bottom point of that kite I was also pointing out.
And it's funny because, get out of my head, Kristin. I'm telling you. I was just about to say it looks like the moon and Uranus are moving towards each other because the moon's moving forward, Uranus is retrograde. They're like running at each other with open arms. That's how it runs in my head, at least.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any last minute thoughts for Brenda?
I saw Esmond had a question in the comments.
Let's see, I do not have the comments open.
Asking, is it significant that Brenda has so many planets on one side now on her birthday? I think we touched on it a little, but I think just kind of how it was all on one side going back to the natal for a hot second.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Thomas touched on that with it being a very internal progression for this year. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
All right, Melissa, you're next.
Let's answer this question real quick. Kat, this is a view only. So the people that are in the boxes paid for those seats. They paid $2,500 each per seat. This is a money rake on Kristin and mine's behalf. And no, none of that is true. That was Neptunian lies. But they did pay a little bit to be here, and we're going to be doing more of these. So in the future, you can catch it, and if you'd like to participate, that's how we're going to be doing it. But yeah, we're going to do this more often. So just hang in there. In fact, we've got a really cool idea for the next one, but I'm not going to say what it is yet. Thank you for the question.
Okay, well, I get my notes up. Let's see. Is there any? Oh, well, Melissa just had a birthday too, so everybody could say happy belated birthday to her. She's actually on her birthday vacation.
Yes.
Also, before we go further, we have 3 birthdays in here.
Wow,
today.
lots of birthdays.
So happy birthday to Carmen as well.
Happy birthday, Carmen.
What a great way to spend your birthday.
Yeah.
Pam was wishing everybody happy birthday too. So thank you guys. That's cool. Yeah. Thanks for being with us on your birthday evening. So that's fantastic. Priorities are straight. This is going to be a good year.
Okay, so first on my notes is we actually have quite a few Capricorn risings for the charts. So we're looking at the ruler of your chart being in Saturn in the 7th. And if we are talking about decan wise, we're looking at Mercury, because their decan of Capricorn is Virgo. And let's see. Where? Okay, so again, Mercury in the first house in Aquarius, conjunct Mars. So you got that T-square too. That was another thing that I had noticed in your natal chart with Uranus conjunct the midheaven. Very, very great for the metaphysical, especially with that MC in Scorpio. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You are in your element there.
She also has this kite pattern as well, involving Neptune and Pluto and Saturn.
Yeah.
So it's like we've been sitting here talking about this. So
yeah,
like
I had the kite with Pluto and Venus as well. So you've kind of got like that double kite, which brings us to that grand sextile that you have going on with the transiting Mars right now as well in Gemini. So we're talking grand sextile is either air and fire or earth and water. And so with the air and fire, like that shows major for passion and ideas, and you're in your zone right now while Mars is transiting Gemini. Definitely.
I was just saying the other day how I'd never seen a grand sextile in real life, and with that transiting Mars that you had one was really exciting. So, if I had a tail, it'd be wagging.
Yeah, career focused. So you're actually in a 11th house perfection year, which is Scorpio. So your MC is sitting in there too. So this is actually going to be a really, really great year for you to kind of start to align where you want to be career wise and how you're actually showing up. I mean, I know that you are such a great presence in the Facebook group when it comes to positive feedback and just being there to share your light. You're so great at that. And I feel like when it comes to 11th house is community, and when it comes to that, especially in Scorpio, like this is going to be a wonderful year to just kind of get out there and be with the community that makes you feel welcomed, you know. Let's see.
I'm looking at this. The North Node is in Libra, and it's in the 10th house. And then we have Saturn in the 7th house in Leo. So I feel like, and also the Capricorn rising, it feels like if you aren't already, like you should be having fun when you work. Or like it's in your destiny to have like a fun career where you're showing your love and your light, because this chart really like radiates so much like white, beautiful, loving light when I'm like tuning into it. So I feel like it's part of your destiny to like share that with the world and make that like a way for you to live and survive in this three-dimensional reality.
Thank you. I'm a teacher and I teach 11 and 12-year-old little star seeds. So I definitely have fun, or I'll lose my mind, but we have a lot of fun. And more, I have kids that we're having conversations about their dreams. They know their signs. They're talking to me about astrology. Had conversation with a kid about the multiverse and jumping timelines. And a lot of it, I think, does have a little bit to do with these Marvel movies coming out, but I'm not mad about that. But yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blue rectangle. Oh, triangle. Or Mercury.
Yeah, I see the rectangle. I've never actually read
Oh, yeah.
rectangles though. Does anyone here have experience with rectangles?
I see it now. That was not on my radar. I was seeing the double kite and the grand sextile, so I did not even notice that one.
It's almost like a square aspect, but where only half of the square is actually a square and then the other half is harmonious. If it's almost like a 50-50 tug of war with two opponents on each side. Or I guess in this case it's outweighed with the Mars and the Mercury. So maybe there's more of like a tug of war going on in like this like higher level, like maybe like the way that you show yourself to the world or something is kind of difficult to present. I don't know. Maybe you're worked out of that, like, because what you just shared with me, but maybe growing up, it was harder for you to like share certain aspects of yourself and it was easier for you to kind of like hide or something or isolate yourself.
Yeah, that's a the way that you explained it with the harmonious with the oppositions. I think my favorite way to explain a kite is giving the harmonious aspects just a little bit of attention to really get things done. I mean, people with kite aspects in their chart go on to do wonderful things.
Yeah, it's interesting because the rectangle and the kite would kind of have similar energies, and it's just the fact that you have double kite that you get that cool little rectangle. And I really like that idea of the push and pull of it, but it definitely does seem a little more air heavy. So I like that, especially with that Aquarius stellium. That seems fitting.
Okay, so for career-wise too, so my top 3 things that I normally look at are the MC, the 6th house, and the 2nd house. Okay. Now with the MC in Scorpio, we go back to Mars. So 6th house ruler would be again Mercury, and then 2nd house we're back to Saturn in Leo, but another air sign in Aquarius. The Leo Saturn really stands out to me, especially as a teacher. Leo has the energy of children, you know, being kind of the same energy as the 5th house. So definitely living your chart as teaching, no matter who or what you're teaching. Definitely feel strong. Move on to
And also all those planets in the 2nd house, someone commented about it's 2nd house depending on the house system you use, which is always one of those things, drawing our imaginary lines in the sky. But yeah, definitely a lot of Aquarius energy, regardless of the house system.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have anything for the secondary progressions or the solar arcs that stands out to anybody?
I didn't have a thought on these, but I did have a thought on
I can go back. Yeah,
just the nature.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I guess in thinking about career things, and so often that does, I feel like so many career focus and moves comes down to communication and really how we're actually thinking of it. And so I was looking and seeing that I was looking at Mercury in Aquarius, and that it had like recently, it's not quite in a conjunction anymore. I guess it's what, about like 6 degrees apart, but it recently was. And so I was looking at that thinking um it it makes sense that kind of maybe whatever is on your mind, whatever's pressing, that there might be like a lot of analysis. There might be just kind of some overthinking, wanting to get your ducks in a row. But I know Thomas has been talking about this on the podcast recently too, but like, where's the opportunity to bring more intuition into these career questions? Because with Mercury in Aquarius, and then that recently being conjunct, it might be just kind of a really mind racing kind of time of, like, and in a good way too. You've got a lot of this like brain power behind you, I think, like at those times. But yeah, maybe where is the opportunity to bring intuition in it? I mean, with working with children, and yeah, like that great Leo Saturn energy, like kids are all about intuition. So I'm sure you've got plenty of wonderful intuitive energy, because kids will know. Kids know when something's off, or something, or even things are on your mind. So yeah, that's all I wanted to point out.
That's a really great point. Kids are very intuitive. Yeah, totally. Okay, let's see. All right. I think progressions wise, what stood out to me was the your moon is currently traveling through your 9th house. It was just conjunct Pluto, and it's in a 9th house, so it's really kind of like an education and belief kind of energy for you while it's still transiting. But it's about to conjunct your north node, which is really, really great energy. And hopefully, like, that'll help kind of bring in some positive things, especially with it being in your 10th too, and how you show up to the world. And being a Libra energy makes me think that when it comes to relationships, you're going to bring in some really positive people that can kind of help you along your career path as well.
She said, bring it on.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Here's a comment.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The air and fire is strong in you.
I feel like there's a lot of Venus energy. Like even in the progression, we have Sun conjunct Venus. And then in this solar arc, there's the Sun conjunct her natal Venus. So it feels like a lot of like empowering individuation and trusting your instincts and attracting the right individuals into your environment to help you grow.
Definitely.
As well as communicating, because it's activating that like third house. So definitely like finding your voice in this moment and letting your like instincts kind of guide your words and all that.
Yeah, really great insight. Totally. All right. Anybody have any other last minute thoughts for Melissa? Okay. Let's move on to Kim. You're next. Okay. Well, I have to say, first thing that stood out to me is that T-square with Jupiter at the top. Anybody else have anything that strikes them right off the bat?
I was going to throw in that it's opposite the transiting Jupiter. So that's a transit grand cross, correct?
Correct. Yep. Yeah, I actually have that in my notes as well. Okay, so I have for birth chart, I'll start there before transits. Chart ruler is Saturn, located in the first house in Aquarius. Again, with Saturn energy, can definitely create a late bloomer type of thing when it, especially in the first house, because first house is yourself and just how you show up. So definitely can really become more comfortable with yourself later in life. Especially because you also have the applying square between Saturn and your midheaven there in Scorpio. That was another thing that I had noticed. You know, you're only a degree difference, and since it is applying, I do see it as a little bit stronger. Let's see, based on Decan as well, it makes the co-ruler of your rising sign your 29-degree Mercury too. So, and definitely with the 29 being an analytical degree, that Scorpio Mercury is strong. Especially sharing space with your Scorpio midheaven too. Anybody else see anything for birth chart comments?
Yeah, I took a couple notes. I again, as I said, I always look at the 12th house. So I was looking at that Uranus and Neptune conjunct. That stood out to me. And I just kind of tried to feel into this chart and like wrote notes. I wrote like unexpected karmic growth, and also maybe unexpected betrayals with that as well, like the Uranus conjunct there. I thought that might kind of bring that out in Neptune. And I also saw what also stood out to me was the North Node conjunct the Sun as well. And it just like I looked at this chart and it felt very bright. It felt like very bright sunshine. I don't know. It was very ambitious, bright energy. It felt like I was looking at it and I was like, I just see personal growth and like a lifelong learner here in this chart. And I thought the North Node in Sun and Sagittarius like conjunct felt like it really kind of shone with like was shining bright when I looked at this.
Definitely a lifelong learner. As one of Kim's friends, that's spot on. Spot on.
For sure. It's like, how many things can I learn in a week? How many deep dives can I do? Can I
Yeah.
connect them? Do I get bonus points if I have multiple? And yeah, definitely a lifelong learner. Thanks. If I had a tail, it'd be wagging.
I also wrote like creatively ambitious. Like, what has someone not tried? Can I try that?
For sure. I love making things weird. It's like, ooh, let's find my way of making this weird. Let me hack it so it's a little more me. So yeah, absolutely. Spot on.
I feel like for someone that has a Cancer Mars, you might be someone that doesn't actually, I don't know, like to me with all the planets kind of above the horizon, I feel like you're an initiator and someone that's not afraid to like communicate or like get things done, whereas like I have a Cancer Mars placement and I feel like growing up with that I've had to like learn how to take initiative or like show people my true feelings and things like that. But when I look at your chart, I feel like with the opposition with your ascendant, it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like you don't have as much as a wall that I might have with that same sort of Mars and Cancer aspect.
I would definitely say I am great at initiating things. Follow through, on the other hand, I have other friends who help me with that, but absolutely. And I feel like the Cancer Mars is very much of a flow versus productivity thing. So it's like I definitely need to feel like doing it, otherwise it probably won't get done.
Well, you are
Yeah,
a Sagittarius, so.
Yeah,
that
that's
sounds
what I
like
was
some
gonna
very
say.
fire
Cancer
signs.
moon. I think with that Mars answering to the moon in its home sign in the same house too, even though, you know, we have a retrograde Mars in Cancer, I think the fact that they are together in the chart definitely helps with some of that as well.
Yeah, I'm a little obsessed with my Cancer moon. It's fun, and also with its conjunction to Juno, like that's definitely been a new finding that I'm excited about. But very much intuitive, love that one-on-one type connection.
You must be a really good friend, I would
Yeah.
assume, with the Juno and Cancer and Moon combination. Someone that cares and do you have a lot of phone calls with friends and things like that?
Kristin
Yes.
and I actually on the phone like most of the day, almost every day. So yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
try to be a good friend.
definitely is. I could vouch for that. I would say for transits too, I've got the Jupiter opposing Jupiter, and then also Pallas stationing direct right now at 10 degrees, right on that Moon and Juno conjunction. So Pallas, if people don't like really study the asteroids, is the one that's for wisdom and knowledge and you know one-on-one relationships and you know learning stuff together with people right now is going to be really powerful. Okay, we're also 7th house perfection year for you. Cancer ruled, puts moon into great focus. So, and even on your solar return, the moon was in Cancer on that day. So major 7th house. Heavy focus on one-on-one relationships for the year. And, for people that are studying houses, 7th house does not just mean like intimate relationships. It's any one-on-one relationship, that could be with clients or, um, you know, people that you spend time with. Mm. Any other thoughts for the natal with transit chart?
It looks like when Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to be kind of moving with your natural equal house system placement. So I feel like you might have kind of a collective consciousness, almost reflection with that transition. I don't, how they're saying things are just going to be so different. So I'm imagining with someone in like their own life, like with Aquarius, you might really start broadcasting more of what you do and finding more of like a momentum with that. So if you want to start getting more using your voice in whatever way with the world, I think you'd be supported with the Pluto shift.
That sounds really exciting. I'm definitely here for it.
And Kim, I know you just from chatting with you, and you have so much knowledge to share. So don't hesitate to share it. Like, don't hold back with that. I think this is a time for you to broadcast that however you feel that you need to do that, because you're very wise soul. We'd love to hear more from you.
Absolutely. That Palace rising conjunction too. You got the wisdom.
Stop it. You're making me blush. You guys rock.
All right, I'm gonna move on to your progressed and solar arc charts. So what I noticed from these is you got your sun right on your natal rising right now. So this is very much a time for you to show up, just like Melissa was saying. Like, I really think that, that this is your time to shine, Anybody else notice anything from these? Okay, we'll move on. Mary, you are next.
Okay, I am open to what anyone sees. I am also looking at career. I currently work for a hospice company and I'm a death doula, and I've been contemplating going out on my own or possibly having partnership with the hospice. So I wanted to kind of see what people's opinion on the chart were as far as that. Either playing it safe, staying with the hospice, or going out on my own.
I had actually written healthcare in my notes just because of that midheaven and moon exact conjunction in Virgo. Definitely gives healthcare vibes for me. You are in a 6th house perfection year as well, and that is a lot of work and giving new structure to your daily routine over this next year too. Anybody else see anything right off the bat?
She asked about partnership. So transiting Uranus in Taurus is slow. That's why she's feeling this autonomy. But Mars transiting through Gemini, don't do it right now. You start a war.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, let Mars get clear.
Okay.
Let it throw a sextile. Don't do it while it's in the 10th house either. You know, maybe give it some time. Yeah, let it move out of Gemini, because that's not only a war, but that's division.
Mhm.
Okay.
Don't do it with Mars in Cancer. You're going to have to wait until Mars clears your, like over there in the 11th or 12th or 1st or something like that. Maybe even seriously wait until it gets in Scorpio. Then you could give it octane. But anything crossing over the top of that chart. So when is that going to be? How far out is that going to be? Let's see. It's within a year. Let's see here. November. So don't be in a hurry.
I'm not. I'm patient, and I've been working with a spiritual mentor on developing my gifts, and also working in the facet of energy healing. So I'm just going to keep taking my classes and working with her, and slow and steady wins the race. So
Yeah. Do you see what we're talking about on the chart? So Mars on the astro.com chart there is just sitting right on top of the symbol for Gemini.
okay.
That's in the 7th house of partnerships.
Okay.
It's also in Gemini. Look at the symbol itself. It's a division of the Roman numeral 2, right?
Yes.
Split it in half. So Mars is the god of war. So you're talking about, if you were to do something right now, you'd start a war either with the people you work with or with yourself. So yeah, just set it aside and then move that Mars counterclockwise until it gets over there to Scorpio. You see the symbol for Scorpio. It's basically over at the 9 o'clock position.
Yes.
Let it get all the way over there so that it clear. See, in Cancer, Mars is grumpy in Cancer. You don't want it in your 10th house. Again, I wouldn't, just because of that cranky factor that Mars can bring to the table. I mean, yes, it can be power. So you could say if they're, well, let's see, would that,
I was actually thinking about that, the fact that that would cause, if you did it with Mars in Leo, that would create a natal Mars trine. Thoughts on that? Because it's Mars, natal Mars opposition right now.
yeah, and it's in and that natal Mars is in Sagittarius. Yeah, you could do that. Fire trine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could look at that window, but I don't think she'll be ready.
It seems like a good prep time.
That sounds good, Kim. I'm just going to keep prepping.
I'm looking at that MC moon situation too, and I feel like it's definitely follow your heart. I mean, I tell everyone to follow their heart, but especially you.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, very, very strong intuition with that moon MC conjunction. You know, I mean, the moon is intuition, and the MC is how you show up to the world. So you definitely are leading with love. I love that. I mean, I feel like you're in a career that you're meant for. You know, you got that T-square too with Venus in Cancer at the point. Very, very loving chart.
Okay.
I also just noticed the Pluto series conjunction, and I think once Pluto hops into Aquarius, that might be extra spicy.
Mary, I just kind of had to laugh because I had like just written notes ahead of time, And I had literally written lots of slow and steady wins the race energy behind career moves.
That is that is
And then you
so
said it,
funny,
and I was like,
Jenna.
"It's the
Oh
wrong thing."
wow. Cool. So cool.
Yeah, and I love Virgo energy. I have a Virgo stellium, and um, I also just like love everything you're saying about your career and putting love and care and really that dedicated patience in it. And I saw like obviously like you're with Mercury and exaltation in Virgo too. I'm sure like your like excellent communication skills come through in work and that people really appreciate that and it probably touches a lot of lives. And then I had another, I just had a quote that I loved about Virgo moons that I wrote here too, and it's your systems are sacred, the mundane is magical.
I love that.
I love that
Absolutely
too.
love that.
I'm a 10-degree Virgo moon, so I feel that. I love that.
I just have to say real quick, Melissa and I have been sitting here commenting, Anna, you are phenomenal. And I know, like, I haven't seen you in our Facebook group much and on Sunday nights and a lot of the touch points that we have online, but my goodness, you are just a wonderful contribution to this tonight. So thank you.
Oh,
Really
thank you so
appreciate it.
much. I'm
I
joining the book
second
club
that.
coming up, so I'm really excited about it.
Well,
Oh,
good.
yay, I'm
Kristin,
excited.
now, Kristin, you won't have to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll just leave it to you.
Hey, I would love to hear from Liz on this before we jump off for Mary. You have any thoughts for Mary?
First, I keep thinking like angelic connection. And I think it's this Neptune in Scorpio at 25 degrees. And I know it's not like the tightest conjunction with your Mars in the first house, but something about that just makes me feel like with you revealing that you were a death doula, I feel like you probably have like a really remarkable ability to really like know what to say and help people feel at ease and like really probably have higher guides that probably assist people in this experience. So that's what I was kind of tuning in on.
That is definitely so true. I have been helping people for years pass over, and you definitely need that spiritual team. It's a whole team effort getting someone to transition and be such an honor and part of their journey. And that's one of the things that my spiritual mentor told me. She said, Mary, you are holding back and you have gifts. And you keep talking to your guides and you keep talking to the angels. And she said, but you are really going to start connecting this year. You are also going to start seeing more in the spiritual realm. And there are some
that's
things
that Mars, I think, too,
yes.
that's transiting through Gemini right now is probably activating that. So you're going to have like more out external manifestations of things.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a yod? Do we have a yod? Can we talk about it?
Yes.
Pointing at Mars with Venus and Saturn. I'm not the queen of yods. I feel like that's Thomas's forte. Thomas, tag your
Well,
head.
let me look over here on my chart. I'm not seeing a yaw. You said what planets?
Venus, Saturn, Mars. It's pointing at Mars.
Oh, let's see. No.
No?
She's yod free.
What are the aspects for a yod?
Basically, two quintiles, two inconjuncts are the witch's hat. That's the upward part, and then a sextile at the base. So 150 degrees on either side, quincunx or inconjunct. Did I say quincunx first time? I'm getting tired, but, and then sextile at the bottom, and that's it. Yeah. So this doesn't have that.
I thought I saw it, but maybe that's I saw 8-degree in Taurus, 13 in Cancer, 10 in Sagittarius. No.
They're definitely in conjuncts, but I don't think it makes up a yod.
Yeah, there are 2 inconjuncts in here. There sure are. Mars to Saturn is one. They're my green lines. And then the north node up to the sun. Those are, you also can count 5 houses. So you just think opposition, back up 1 or move forward 1. It's a real quick, easy way to see it. But those 2 are not separated. Mars and the sun are not separated.
Or not the sun, Mars and Venus in Cancer.
Yeah, no, Venus isn't. No. Oh, well, I see what you're saying. Okay. So it's an orb question.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an orb question.
Oh, I see it, because it's 8 and 13.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess my orb was wider. I think I was just seeing that strong Mars energy, though. And it, to me, it's a pointer, but not a yod. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, not a yod. I see what you're saying. Sorry, I am melting a little bit here. But one thing that came up, setting astrology aside for a second. You guys just mentioned it before we started talking about the yod. How many, without a show of hands, I'm asking a rhetorical question, how many would say that you are holding back in some way in your life? It's been a theme that has come up several times. It's either was expressed, like when we were talking about Mary, maybe you're holding back a little bit for whatever reason, to say, I don't have the self-confidence. I don't feel like I have the experience. Maybe I'm not old enough. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I don't have a particular skill set. Maybe I'm not a good communicator. Maybe I don't have the connections. Whatever it is that you, for whatever reason, you're not moving into something that you have felt in your heart you could move into. I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. One in my peripheral vision, a couple other.
Mine is just number 1, responsibility. This is something that I've been told that, being responsible as far as I have a regular income in this economy, just kind of afraid, like I said, to break out on my own. But like, I feel so passionate about just wanting to go do that. And I feel like everyone has said, though, I will get there. I just need to do it, in the proper time. It's if you looking at my chart and my sign and so forth, it's just like, I just want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row before I take the big leap.
Yeah, that's reflective of Uranus in the 6th house.
Okay.
Especially in a transit, having just crossed over your Saturn there. Yeah, you've been feeling independence. You've been feeling like you want to beat to your own drum.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 years down the road, Uranus will be in the 7th house, and you'll be wanting the same in your relationship, or watch how that might influence the relationships and partnerships that you would structure around this new independence in work.
Okay.
In other words, it's the temporary thing. Right now, Uranus is causing those feelings. but move it forward into the 7th house. Now you're not feeling like so much you want this autonomy at work. Now you want these partnerships, but you want them your way. What does that look like? And that's a 15-year experience. So whatever you set up is going to be set up with Uranus in the 7th house.
Okay.
Mary, you and I are meeting up, by the way, in the next 2 months.
Yeah, yes, we are. We're going to speak it, and I think we need to go to that location that Alyssa shared on your Facebook post.
Yes. Yeah.
All
You
right.
and I met for a reason. We're gonna help each other do big things. I feel it for sure.
That sounds great to me, Melissa.
Love that. Love that so much.
We had a comment about the AC conjunct Neptune trine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely a nice conjunction there.
Yeah. So we're talking Scorpio. So we look to Mars if we're talking ancient ruler, or we can look to Pluto if we're talking modern ruler too for that conjunction as well. But the AC Neptune conjunction definitely gives off a spiritual vibe to me. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna move. We'll do the progressions quick. Does anybody have anything off the bat? I say I notice you just had the moon on your sun. You know, it's moving through Leo right now, and that gives me like really great, you know, putting your emotions at the forefront of you leading, and it'll continue to move through your Virgo stellium here over the next couple of years too.
Okay.
So a progressed moon is in each sign for about a year and a half, and so you've got a little bit left of Leo, and then a year and a half of it being through Virgo.
Okay.
I'm looking at that Uranus, transiting Uranus on Jupiter as well. 4 degrees and 5 degrees Libra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling the abundance and change.
Yeah, I read that as a, you're stepping out of your comfort zone when it comes to spirituality as well. And that can be really, really strong with that conjunction.
I have been doing that. Really, yes, definitely getting out of the comfort zone, but it feels really good. So
Good. Love it. All right. Move on to Lizzie. You're next. Okay. So astrologer's choice wise, do you have anything that you want us to focus on?
I just whatever comes up. I'm not attached. I'm curious what y'all come up with, and there's always new insights.
Well, I have to say I love your Sag energy. I mean, your sun and moon. Love it. Okay, so I know that you study astrology too, so it's like I don't really want to like get into like basics because I'm sure that you're well versed. And so when I get into chart ruler, Mercury and Scorpio and all of that, for anybody else that is learning. But I mean, you definitely too have a chart that is primed for somebody who's leading in spirituality for sure. I mean, with the transiting planets, like Thomas was pointing out in Brenda's chart, you have all of yours at the top of the chart, which, I mean, and in several points, actually, I was seeing, like, you're in a time right now where you're here to show up. You know, you're putting yourself out there for people to see you, and I love that, because you should be a leader and somebody that people are looking to for guidance when it comes to that.
Thanks. I think one question I have, and this might be something that Kristin might feel the most comfortable answering because you have asteroid knowledge, is the Vesta in the 7th house loosely conjunct my sun and moon, essentially. So it's kind of like sandwiched right between my sun and moon. And I have my own intuitive thoughts on that and whatnot, but I'm curious, like, what you would think.
Vesta's probably one of my favorites. I have it conjunct my midheaven, very loose conjunction, but it's definitely one that I've spent a lot of time with. And in my studies, I think my favorite way to explain it is, you know, you read about it being the home and hearth and your inner flame. I see it as a very, very spiritual asteroid, and to have it there, you know, sextile to your Jupiter and your MC, I think that's part of the reason why I feel that so strongly about your chart is that Vesta, actually. You know, I mean, so too, for future, when you're looking at transits, anything that you've got in Gemini, so come May, when you've got things rolling through those aspects, that's going to be creating a kite in your chart with that those sextiles that you have going on right there. So that's a really great time too, with that 7th house lead in Vesta, to put relationships at a focus for you. It really help propel you while you have Gemini transits. I say, especially because you're also going through a 7th house perfection year too, is what I noticed, and that's where your sun is. So this coming year is another reason why I say that about, you know, you're here to stand out right now, is you're going through a perfection year that does involve your sun. I mean, your sun and moon, you've got that stellium there. But then if we look to Sag is ruled by Jupiter. For your solar return, Jupiter was in Pisces, sitting in your 10th. So again, relationships and career, how you're showing up.
That totally all resonates. Yeah.
And I know we were talking about this in the Discord, and I definitely noticed that that new moon energy. It's not an exact new moon degree-wise, but sun and moon, Sagittarius, especially with the North Node there, that seems like a really powerfully Sagittarius energy. Just very like philosophical, very, very spiritual to me.
Definitely. I say the other thing that I had noticed, I could jump back for anybody that wants to go back to the transit chart, but since I was talking about the showing up, you just had your rising sign move into Cancer, and it had just opposed your or your sun had just opposed right before it switched. So I think you're at a 3-degree sun right now. I can't tell because that writing is real small now. 3-degree sun in Capricorn opposing that rising in Cancer is what I was going for. And then you have the moon traveling through Capricorn as well. So you kind of have that same same thing going on.
It's funny because I say this a lot recently. I love being at home nowadays, and it's funny because when I was growing up, I used to kind of like get cabin fever really easily. But in the last like year or so, I've just become like completely comfortable with being in my own space and embracing that. So I feel like I definitely am honing in on this like Cancer ascendant, more healer, motherly, warm, watery vibes for sure, versus where I was kind of in that Gemini, more analytical, kind of like busybody for basically up until this point. So it's been, I can like feel that like shift.
I love to hear that. Now I know because Thomas and I talked. I know you're starting a podcast too, and so with the moon and sun both in Capricorn, and with that progress rising moved into Cancer, it really gives me like a building vibe. And with your stellium in Capricorn here in this chart, with the two luminaries moving through there, like that's, you're building for longevity, you're building, you know, you're, it's giving Saturn aspects to that. You know, you're definitely in the mindset of trying to you know, put something in the ground and build it up.
Yeah, and show up for it. So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and look too, and Lizzie and I have talked about this, but look at those solar arc 9th house planets: Neptune, Uranus, Venus, money, that have all crossed over her midheaven and Saturn. But for at least another 13 years are in the Aquarian astrology area of publishing, putting things out there. And one of the things, if you look at Lizzie's website, I just showed Melissa, and great job on the new clothes designs. She designs clothing and is incorporating astrology into the designs. So within the next, as she launches this publishing, and then she's publishing her podcast, give it 13 years, and then it hits the career house in Pisces. That'll time out with this new spirituality perfectly. And she's dragging Venus along. So in 13 years, we are cruising around the world on Lizzie. She's going to make so much money selling her clothes that she'll just buy us all a cruise. So,
well, selling clothes and giving readings and speaking words about metaphysics and philosophy, it's a whole. I'm a Gemini rising. I have a lot of hobbies and skills, so I can't just do one thing. Yeah.
Well, and again, back to that self-examination point of, am I holding myself back for some reason? Don't, because this chart screams, mash the gas.
I feel like it also screams sharing in, you know, one-on-one relationships, like things that I learn, and just really being involved with expression and community and other people. So I've been really trying to like call that into my life more and more in the last like 2 years, just really, you know, you were saying, Kristin, like showing up and being involved, because it's really like part of my karmic destiny to expand myself and my consciousness is to like really get out of my shell. And I've been really like tuning into that.
Yeah, I think with this 7th house perfection year, it's going to be a great year for that. And I mean, with Thomas mentioning the Venus, strong Venus energy on your MC right now, and I mean, fashion, that's so fun too. And I mean, that's very, very Venus, very, very Venus. You know, embrace it.
I feel like I keep being drawn to just like the Jupiter in the 5th house too. It's just like, have some fun, be passionate, you know, try 10 different things. So what if they don't work out? You know, like I just feel like that's like a big, you know, kind of energy looking at just this kind of like, it just seems like it's like down here looking up at the chart, just sending like energy to, you know, and some challenging and some really just like positive and easy, but it's there being like, I'm gonna give energy to, you know, wherever you go with these. And I also like, yeah, I guess I also wrote when I was just initially looking at your chart too, and just kind of thought of it when you were talking about like, you know, just relationships and karmic stuff. Like I said, like a grounded, methodical, goal-oriented approach to working through karmic past. And also with saying like maybe kind of breaking out of your shell, like slow to love, loyalty is earned, but it's precious, and it kind of feels like, you know, maybe, you know, when would like once you're on someone's team, like you're on their team. People want you on their team. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with all that. Thank you.
Yep.
Wonderful. Yeah, I totally see that too. Okay, anybody have any last thoughts for Lizzie?
I would just like if Lizzie in the comments shared her website so we could look at her clothing. That would be great.
I can do that for sure.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely
you.
throw it in there on the Facebook, you know, put yourself out there.
I'm okay. I will.
Yeah, do it.
Facebook,
Thank you.
For
Discord,
that
chat.
blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is your invitation. Take it.
Share it on
Definitely.
the
We want to
Facebook.
see
Yeah.
Facebook,
Okay.
YouTube,
I've been
Yeah.
holding back.
Discord.
all the things. Yeah, throw it in your Discord bio. Put it out there everywhere.
Let your family here support you.
Yeah,
Oh, thank
totally.
you. Okay, thank you so much. It's so sweet.
All right. Will is next. I actually don't see him on here anymore. Did he drop off?
I think we had technical difficulties.
Okay.
Oh, here he is.
There you are.
Oh.
Hello. It's your turn.
Hello.
Yay, perfect timing.
Yeah, look at that. Okay. Anybody have any initial thoughts? Okay, well, I definitely see you got some strong Aquarius energy up there at the top. Really, really strong stellium conjunct your MC and that T square right there. So your topic was about the transiting Pluto conjunct your natal Neptune and squaring your sun, which 29 degrees, both, you're going through both right now. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime transit. Now, granted, the Neptune is a little more generational, where you have but the sun at the exact point is not. And for me, when I see that that transit, I see it as, you're really changing, how you show up, and just, with the sun being your ego and whatnot, like you've probably gone through quite a bit of self-development over, the last couple of months while this transit has been heavy, and will continue to be for the next few months too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with the sun in Aries, and I think that it very much shows me that you're becoming like who you want to be, like as an individual right now.
Mm.
You've got Chiron opposed at 28 degrees in Libra too, and so for me also with the Pluto setting off the Neptune at the top, it's really how you're showing up as yourself in your relationships too.
Mm.
It's it's making sure that the people that you're with are seeing you as who you want to be seen as. Anybody have any other thoughts right away before I go into perfections?
I was looking at that square between Neptune and the Sun, or just that T square in general. Very that lot of cardinal energy with
Mhm.
the. I know not everyone uses Chiron in the aspects, but I do. And I'm looking at that pretty pretty intently. It seems like a very interesting time transit, or just in general, because that's just natal. That doesn't even bring in the transits of it. So I think that's just a very strong energy in those. And I love when I see 29 degrees or 0 degrees. So since I'm seeing a lot of those, like, ooh, how's that going for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been I've been trying to walk with the energy, knowing that the square has been coming up, and instead of I've been trying to let things leave and trust that new things are coming in, and they have been in powerful ways, in very plutonic sort of ways.
That seems fitting.
Yeah. One thing today, had a really hard time the last 48 hours, and I was wondering if it was a Pisces new moon thing or something, but a really hard time focusing. And I think it's very Sun square Neptune natally, is that I've had quite a bit of ups and downs, and good times and painful times associated with escapism versus being seen in my life, or wanting to just kind of stay in my imagination versus putting myself out there and taking action and things like that. So I had been working with the nodes a lot in the fall, and I was listening, Thomas, I was listening to the videos with Robert about the nodes, and that really helped bring a lot of clarity. So, yeah.
I think that you did a beautiful way of explaining the energy of the Sun and Neptune strong in your chart. I mean, you definitely are tuned in to how it is manifesting for sure. And even just listening to you say you're trying to be ahead of it with the Plutonian energy and letting things fall away is the perfect example of what you should be doing, because the things that are left at the end are the things that are meant for you, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I saw the transit coming up, and I started to worry about it, and then I kind of realized that it was, if a lot is going to be leaving my life, that's an opportunity to regenerate. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pluto is the planet of rebirth, you know, not just death, but it brings things back that should be there.
Yep.
Will, this is great. First of all, huge commendation for you asking this question and showing up here to get answers to this, and for staying to the end. I mean, this is great. One thing I would do is pick up Liz Green's book. There's not a better one that's been written about Neptune. It's just called Neptune.
I got that one behind me.
The Quest for Redemption. Liz, L-I-Z, Green, Greene, British. She is almost impossible to understand. So don't think that this is going to be a speed read. You are going to have to muddle through it, okay? And it's about 7,000 pages long. I mean, it's enormous.
Yeah,
So,
it's a big book here.
so
Oh,
just,
juicy.
yeah. Turn it sideways, Kristin.
It's a good one. I
It's
mean, I
thick.
highly suggest it. It's big, but it's great.
It will last
So-
me all of the Pluto transit then. It's,
Oh yeah, you're only 26, so you've got time. You'll get
You got
through
time. You got plenty of time.
it. And the other one actually that Robert recommends is her book on Saturn. Says it's the best book on Saturn, best book on astrology. I think it's one of the best books on astrology that's been written overall. So, and those are going to be deep, thick reads. But look, obviously you're into this, and you are really ahead of the curve of looking at various aspects. And then I just made a note that Robert and I will do a podcast on Sun Neptune aspects, because we both have it and have both worked through it. But obviously, if you've listened to that podcast and you know his story, or if you've listened to my stuff, you know that you put your radar up for anything related to addictions. Now, I have a conjunction of the Sun and Neptune. So does Robert. You have a square. So there's even more tension for you. And you're young, and I get it. Be aware and make your choices wisely. But that aspect is one that I pulled out, and Robert was a little more into it. I mean, he was living in Los Angeles and California in the 60s and 70s, and you know, it got him, but he caught it before it got out of hand. I could see it coming for myself, and I got out before the cliff on the horizon. A really good friend of mine in Aspen was there in the 70s also, and it got him. And he went to rehab. He went to AA. And when I was with him a couple of years ago, and we were sitting at the table, the kitchen counter bar, just like this, and he said, and his gesture was, he said, I know if alcohol passes over these lips, I will die. At his bottom, he was living under a bridge in Aspen. So highly respect the potential of this aspect. Now, the other thing that I've done that's a coping mechanism with this is that the foggy, lack of clarity, illusion sometimes, and just plainly not thinking clearly is something that shows up at various times in your life. You're nodding your head. So what I've done is put together a little team of advisors. Have a board of directors for Will Inc. And hopefully ones who understand astrology. And Kristin, you know, this is maybe something that we could even incubate through Discord.
I agree.
But the thing is that they have to know you well. They have to know what makes you tick. They have to know what turns you on. They have to know where you stumble. So this would have to be more than a social media relationship kind of thing. But you have, and I don't know what the number is. You'll have to figure it out. Right now, for me, it's about maybe 2 or 3 people. But because they know astrology, they know that they are on my Neptune team. And when I'm not thinking clearly and I hit the wall, I don't even try to push through it. I get one of them on the phone and we talk through it. And I say, I just need some Neptune clarity here. Now, the offset to that you've been gifted with is phenomenal intuition. So don't let anybody say, including yourself, oh, I'm not that intuitive. No, you are highly intuitive. And that's the gift that the universe gave you to handle the shadow side. So do everything that you can do to develop your intuition, because it's your counterbalance, it's your counterweight. Does that make sense? And it kind of loops back to the addiction piece, because if you choose the addiction side, or you choose substances that change your mental or spiritual state, which most of them do in one way or another, and some can be positive, I'm not saying that they're not, but whenever you change your state, make sure that you are changing it intentionally and that the payoff is higher than the potential setback. So let's just throw it out. You go out with everybody on Friday night and you have a little too much. When are you good again? I mean, you're 26. You're probably good again on Monday, right? But if you're 63, you're out for a week. And if you're 63 with AFib, you might die. Could kill you. So see what I'm saying? Weigh your consequences. I am going to choose to alter my state, Neptune. How long is that going to curtail or clip my intuition? Am I willing to make that trade? And then roll the dice. I hope that makes sense, but I'll tell you, that has been a godsend for me, is just to be very conscious of that. And then when I look at my own role model, Fred Dodson designs his life to be in tune. So he paces himself slowly so that he can have time to hear. He doesn't fill his mind with current stuff so that he can create his own path. He's an Aquarian. He cuts his own trail. All of that is intentional to stay in tune with the intuition. And when you're in tune with the intuition, you kind of diminish the amount of time or the amount of attention that you need from that management team, because you'll have your own answers. And then I guess the final thing, and then I'm going to mute out. When you get the answer, your only response is to follow it, is yes. Okay. Don't argue with it. Don't question it. Don't Mercury third house analyze it. Just do it. And I've got 25 stories probably in the Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast of examples of that. But the quicker you learn to just follow it, when you know you're getting the intuitive, the intuitive answer, follow it. I hope that helps. Thank you for being here. That you really encouraged me, obviously. Sorry.
Thank you, Thomas.
That's an old man barking out lifelong lessons.
Your younger self, right?
Yeah, that's my
That's what I need right now. Another astrologer who was looking at my chart pointed out Pluto in the 7th, and I actually have also had I had a mentor system and kind of have not had much contact with them in the last couple years, and it's kind of been a regeneration of that, and this is a part of that. I enjoy listening to the videos every day, and this is a part of that new regeneration of mentors.
You will actually change your mentors, especially starting this at 26. And the thing is if you keep on this path, you will outgrow most of your mentors. So the list will get smaller and smaller because there won't be people on par with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't stay with stale mentors. That's the worst thing you could do. When you outgrow them, just thank them for the time and that you've, I'm good or whatever, but find other people.
I call it chaos magic. When things that are not meant for you fall through, it's like it fell out of my life for a reason. It's like the most simple and my favorite example of it is when I desperately need a nap and one of my my clients cancel on me. It's like, time for that nap. But on a much bigger scale with much more important things for you. I love that for you.
I'll tell you just one other point, because Will has really triggered the 26-year-old Thomas, is that when you grow to the point where that intuition is just always there for you and you can call on it and access it. I've covered this a lot in Subconscious Mind Mastery. Fred's written about 2 or 3 books on it with intuition in the title. I would suggest you get those. But when you can just communicate with your own higher self and you know it's giving you the answers, you don't need the other team, and quit listening to other people. That's the best thing you could do. Just follow your own thing. Fred listens to nobody. And I've learned, don't try to suggest anything to him. I'm going to go down there and help him in May on the seminar. He wants me to help facilitate it. I'm just going to ask him what he wants me to do. What do you need? I'm not going to suggest a thing. My job is to execute what he tells me to do. He's in touch with what he needs. I don't have to be that vehicle. See what I'm saying? Other people don't know what your highest source is trying to tell you to do. Thank them for their service and move on, because you're plugged in. And that's what loops me back to live your life in a way that you can connect with it, that it's there when you need it.
Yeah, I think that's also really, really good advice. And I mean, I was gonna go into annual perfections and stuff, but honestly, I think what Thomas was talking about with having just kind of a team to look after you when you're feeling like you need to kind of talk stuff out is really, really great advice. For your solar return or your annual perfection, you're in a second house, which is a moon focused. And for your last solar return, the moon was actually conjunct your Pluto by a degree in the 7th. So I think this is definitely the year to start to build those people and see. And again, like he said, don't let it get stale. Move on if you feel like you need to. With Pluto, again, it's a rebirth, and leave what needs to be left.
I'm sorry, guys. I just keep seeing things. He has a 0-degree, 28-minute ascendant. Now, in the equal house system, remember, it puts the ascendant degree at every cusp. You couldn't have more powerful igniting of signs in this chart. Every house and every sign is neon.
I definitely get this like high energy coming off. Like I feel like you must receive a lot of downloads, and maybe like as a kid growing up that might have been like kind of eccentric for you or something like that. So maybe you kind of learn to like reserve that and hold that back. So that's something I'm seeing. I just definitely feel like you're very plugged in, and I also feel like you're very powerful. Like you have a harmonious like Pluto and Saturn. So, and you're not even having your Saturn return yet, which is interesting because what I also noticed is when Saturn gets into Pisces, it's going to be opposing your Mars and your moon and your node. So I feel like you're going to almost be going through this kind of like pre-Saturn return. So by the time you get to your Saturn return, you might be in some sort of I don't know what your goals are, but I'm kind of like an ashram or like something. Like I just feel like a spiritual teacher, like leader, someone that is here to ground into this reality, and also someone who needs to really like hone in on their own emotions and like trusting your feelings and giving them the right kind of acknowledgement. And I think, as Thomas was saying with the Neptune placements, so definitely part of your destiny to not suppress emotions and to really feel into them and embody them and express them.
Yeah, everything you say, Liz, is very potent.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just like sitting here like listening, and I'm like staring at this chart, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely just I feel like a wise master or something, like presence. And maybe like as you grow older you can embody that more. And I could think, as someone growing up, as I already mentioned, that can be a little bit like a short circuit or like too much energy at one time for a young body to kind of process. And so like socially that can kind of come across difficult, but because you have a strong Saturn and Pluto, I feel like with age you're going to be able to harness that more and more.
I would always been drawn. I've always felt very old, and I've always been drawn to. I always wished that I was an adult when I was a kid, and I already look forward to being a father for a lot. I mean, that was one of my dreams, even when I was a kid. So, yeah. It feels, and it's interesting because you talk about the Saturn thing, and I've been thinking about that as well. Some of the like just having had Saturn go through my 10th house for the last couple of years as well. And before that, going through the 9th house was very transformative. And I definitely have always felt like the more I've just always sensed that I will feel more comfortable the more I age, more comfortable in the sense of being able to make sense of things that I see and feel.
Yeah, just keep doing that and keep putting value to your emotions and things like that. And especially with the second house perfection, like I really think over the next whatever long it takes for it to get into the third house, like you're really going to start embodying and grounding and establishing your value and all that.
Are you plugged into our little, like, are you on Discord? Are you in our Facebook group? Anything?
No, I'd love to join.
Get there.
Come on board the groups. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to get to know you better.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about you finding your team, and I'm like, yeah, it's like I want to be on Will's team. It's like, wait, do I need Will on my team? I think I might need Will on my team.
That's what Melissa was just saying.
Yeah, come join us.
Yeah, do it. I
Awesome.
mean, not to peer pressure you, but peer pressure.
Yeah, if you don't show up by tomorrow, we'll come hunt you down.
I have your email. We'll find you.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you all.
wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna.
Can I add one quick?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Would you like progressions or transits?
Just natal chart, please.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of the notes and stuff, like there's already been so much said, and it's been so fascinating to listen to. But there's just one quote I actually wrote that I wanted to share when I was looking at your chart. I wanted to share one of a quote by Stephen Forrest on the Neptune and Capricorn that just struck me when I saw your chart. And it says, "You must take the path of the hermit in the pursuit of your own spiritual journey in peace. Without dedicated alone time and reflective solitude, you will find yourself lost in the busyness of the day-to-day and the mundane." Yeah, and I just wanted to share that. And looking at your chart, it felt like that was something that just it resonated with me. I like saw that, and I just wanted to share that because I think it's especially as you're talking about just this, you know, kind of time you're going through and things you're working through and this, your spiritual journey, that time is going to be precious. Otherwise, you know, maybe the things like, you know, the fog and just kind of the days can pass you by so easily as you get older, and taking that time in your own spiritual practice alone is always going to be really important.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful quote. Especially, I mean, your chart ruler is your 12th house Mercury. So not only do you have that strong Neptune, but you've got that 12th house energy. You know, I think that that's a beautiful quote for your chart. All right, I'm gonna fast on the progressions. Does anybody any quick things? I know we've spent some time on Will's chart, but
I just wanted to point that it was 29 degrees and 55 minutes. That Neptune. So I thought that was especially juicy.
I think when it comes to progressions, you know, you just had a Venus move past your rising. You know, it's now's the time to kind of embrace some of that energy and find what you love and stuff too. You know, it's moving through your first house, and that's really powerful for your self development. Okay. All right, Jensia, your turn.
Hey y'all.
Hey.
So my name is Janisha and I am very early on in my journey, and I feel like I am in a place of stuck in two ways. One, stuck trying to learn on my own, and so I was hoping that this could really help me figure out where to move next. And then two, just stuck in life, feeling like there's something big that should be happening next, but I don't see it and I don't quite know how to move towards it.
What first stands out to me is you got that cardinal cross in cardinal signs, and you know, I mean, when you say stuck energy, it really, I think, resonates with some of that, just because you have these two opposing T squares that are sending energy back and forth to, or four, I guess, opposing T squares that are all sending energy back and forth to one another. So now for whole sign, or equal sign at least, we're looking at the 3rd and 9th and the 6th and 12th. These are energies that are really strong when it comes to, you know, spirituality and physical and mental health. And so I was wondering if you at all were in healthcare as well. I have that in my notes.
No, I'm not. I am a psychologist, but a workplace psychology. But what stands out there is this month I have been throwing everything I'm interested in at the universe and seeing what lands. So I've been diving deeper into spirituality, astrology, and trying to improve my health.
Yeah, I think with those strong, you know, 3rd and 9th is communication and education and spirituality, and then the 6th and 12th is the healthcare. So I think the combination of the four of those houses being lit up in your chart, you know, definitely makes sense with some of that that you're saying. I mean, I think that you're definitely like on the right track, I think, to finding something that lights you up. I think that you know, the spirituality learning and, you know, somewhere in the development of other people would be really good for you. Anybody else notice anything off the bat?
I noticed that she has a sun, or I'm sorry, a moon, Vesta, and sun little conjunction, 3 conjunction there. So that like makes me think, like we were saying earlier, like the spirituality fire, and it's opposing your MC. So maybe there's been like a conflict of like feeling like you have to work to like earn a certain wage to survive versus like what you actually want to do. Is that a resonance? Kind of.
It's an interesting question. I think the tension with work is wanting to, like, I really enjoy what I do, and I recently, like within the last few years, got a graduate degree so that I could do this, and I already feel like I'm supposed to be transitioning to something more spiritual professionally. And so I feel weird about that, and I don't know if that's the direction I should be moving in, but now I'm thinking maybe it is. I think what I do now, there's still elements of developing others and being of service, but the spirituality piece doesn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, you also have, you're a Libra, so that kind of makes maybe the weighing of the scales things even more emphasized in your life. But then it looks like your MC is in Pisces in the 9th house in the equal house system. So that's like also kind of giving you more clues towards like your soul would be more like your cup would be full if you were doing something in the realms of like spirituality or metaphysics or belief systems and things like that. But I think you got like a psychology degree. Is that's awesome. So I feel like psychology, I kind of want to get a psychology degree, but anyways, you can totally form that into a spiritual path. I know like career wise, you know, there's that you get a job as a psychologist you do work psychology. So are you like HR or something like that, or?
So what I do is I'm a consultant that helps different companies with their employee listening strategies.
Okay. So that's that sounds very like kind of maybe falling into the like Libra, I guess, corporate, being able to problem solve situations. Well, that's probably good for the Libra sun, but I definitely think you're like want to push out. So maybe if there's a way you could like springboard or like, I don't know. So it's great that you're interested in astrology because astrology and psychology kind of parallel with each other. So like, you know, you could consider maybe doing astrological consultations, but I don't want to limit your imagination because I really think that there's other ways of helping people with psychology in a spiritual way. If we could just like think about it outside of this meeting we have here, I'm sure more ideas would come. But yeah, the first thing that I'm thinking is just like psychology and spirituality can exist. How it can work in a 3-dimensional reality is we got to be creative, but I definitely think you could branch out.
I've definitely come across therapists who are also Reiki healers. So it's like there's a lot to that energy, and I feel like having a licensed professional who is helping you with the spiritual side, to me, like that totally speaks to my heart, and it's finding your version of that.
I agree with everything both of them said. You know, I think that with your midheaven and rising trine between them two, and we're talking Pisces and Cancer signs here, you know, I mean, I think the development of an individual, it would really light you up.
One thing that I noticed was that you mentioned you were feeling a stuck energy, and I see that the solar eclipse in the fall will be on your Sun and Mercury. So that was something that stuck out to me as interesting, and interesting that we're not too far from the next solar eclipse in April, which will be opposing those, and that you're maybe sort of getting a sense of some things that you might want to change, or changes happening within you.
Both really good points. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to go off on another 30-minute rant, I promise. Maybe some of this will end up in a podcast. Going back to that spirituality thing, you have Neptune in the 6th house. That indicates. So here's the deal. For me, Neptune and the Sun are on the same degree. They are one planet in my chart. When I originally went to college, I was on my way to seminary. When I left that and went into secular broadcasting, which was my heart passion, I always had a hole in my soul that spirituality piece was not being fulfilled in the secular career. And everybody can justify that. Oh, you can minister in various ways, or you can make any job spirit. No, I had a hole in my heart, in my soul, in my very being. I was missing something. My life didn't matter. I wasn't doing it. And it wasn't until all of this stuff came together over the last 10 or 12 years that now I don't have that feeling at all. I feel like my life is contributing and that it is making a difference in that Neptunian way. So if you have that void, please don't minimize it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because someone at work who was a professional and personal mentor transitioned out of her role so that she could take on the spiritual career that she's interested in. And I actually got her into your podcasts. And so she may be watching, but I've been thinking about that and the work that she's doing, and how I would like to translate what I'm doing in a secular sense into something more spiritual. So I think what you said really hit home for me.
Well, I hope you'll honor it, because I drifted for 30 freaking years of my life unfulfilled. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast could be renamed "Don't Do What I Did." But it's also lessons learned. Yeah. So look, if Neptune was in the 12th house, we wouldn't be having this conversation per se. If it was in the 8th house, we wouldn't be having that. If it was in the 7th house, I would say make sure your relationships are spiritual, or you're going to be sorry. But yours is in the 6th house. That's your work. Your work has to be a spiritual expression, or you're going to have a void. Neptune will nag you every waking moment of your life until you satisfy it. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
It also, you have a Chiron opposition to your Neptune. And so it feels like maybe pursuing this path of spirituality will heal a lot of wounding that kind of exists below the surface. Because you're a Cancer ascendant, but then you have a partial 12th house in Cancer too, where the Chiron is. And so I feel like there might be a lot more to you than most people see. Whereas like you have your sun and moon in Libra, you're probably very friendly with that Cancer rising too, very motherly, like giving, probably take care of a lot of people. And so there's probably something in this like struggle and tension right now that's like gonna help you heal that Chiron wound in the 12th house, which is also spirituality. So
it's also endings and completions.
Mm-hmm.
So you said endings and completions. do you think of a cycle, of a season?
I think like a whole life, I guess. So ending and completions. So you might be carrying, I could think a lot of past lives. That's the way I look at astrology charts, is thinking about things that we're carrying forward. So maybe in like a past life, or even in this lifetime, if you want to think about it like that as a child, like maybe there was a point where you wanted to express yourself spiritually, or like a higher elevated state, and you got like put down for that, and so that you're carrying that wound with you through this lifetime, and part of that cycle of this life is to undo that and really bring up that higher octave of your Cancer spirituality that's inside of you.
Agree. I think that's all really great insight. I think the last thing that I had on my notes was you're going through an 11th house perfection this year, which is Taurus ruled, and that puts Venus as your planet to watch for the year. And there will be a Venus retrograde come July through September. And so could be a major time to just kind of reevaluate. So now for you, it will be through your second, and it'll start in your second, kind of pass through your first, and then come back around to your second again. But I mean, when it comes to second house, that's a lot of your finances, but then your self-worth as well, and how you're filling your cup. And so it could just be some major reevaluations over everything that we've kind of talked about when it comes to that Venus retrograde come July.
I also wanted to serve up that Uranus Saturn conjunction, if anyone wanted to point out anything there. I was looking at how that's in the 6th house, and I feel like that has some pretty big transformative energy for the 6th house.
What sign is it in?
Sagittarius.
What does Sagittarius represent?
I'm thinking the philosophical
Take it
knowledge.
further. Take it further.
Ooh.
Spirituality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel
like you can't run. You can run, but you can't hide.
That's true. I feel like, how many of these are spirituality? I like picking up those two, where it's like, ooh, I like this for spirituality. Oh, hey, where's your North Node? Pisces? Okay. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing a lot of points towards spirituality.
Yeah, that North Node in Pisces too, also a really great point, Kim. Yeah, for sure.
The midheaven, you're not going to be happy if you're not in spiritual work.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like maybe the Saturn and Uranus conjunction is that learning through these like tension points, or like learning through work and like doing things that you don't really resonate with. And then maybe you've changed jobs a lot in your life too with that Uranus conjunct Saturn. So learning through all these different experiences every day, almost like you're in yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are with that Uranus Saturn, is definitely learning through your mundane life to get you closer to this spiritual experience. Like maybe you even experience random mystical things in your everyday life, and more often than most of us, because of this Uranus Saturn, because it's like Uranus surprises, hanging out with Saturn, Lord Karma structure. So it seems like you'd have a lot of like random moments that kind of redirect you in your life a lot.
That is true. I like to believe that I am very intuitive, and there could be just little small things that help guide me through my day or my experiences. And I'm definitely a processor. So when I go through experiences, I process it. Or I think it's synthesizing your experiences for the greater context of what it means.
And I feel like building a foundation yourself. These are your stepping stones for where you want to be. And just remember that some of our careers and some of our future are things that haven't even been there yet. I think with the whole spirituality and your degrees and what you have, I feel like you know that you're going to do something with it, but you don't know what, but just trust that. Like keep going with what you're doing and build your own foundation and trust that it's going to take you where you want to go.
I think that's a really great point. Yeah. And, you know, to that conjunction answers to Jupiter in Gemini, which for me gives a duality point as well. And maybe it's holding two jobs, you know, obviously not to the point that you're overworking yourself, but just enough that, you know, you're filling your cup up from, you know, two different points. You know, both can have spirituality as the base, but, you know, you don't need just one title.
One thing I noticed too, and this is kind of going into the galactic astrology realm, but 27 degrees is where the galactic center is, and that is divine insight and things like that. So I feel like you saying that you're
She started talking about galactic.
She'll be back. She can refresh. Also, those two are one planet. There's a lot of research you can do around that, but they are basically welded into one.
Mm-hmm.
Which two?
The 27 degree Uranus and Saturn. And Lizzie is exactly right, at the galactic center, which is at 26, and I forget what the minutes are, but Sagittarius. So that's huge. I'll tell you, if Robert Glasscock were on here, he would have been jumping up and down and probably had a heart attack by now, screaming that you need to be doing astrology or some kind of spiritual work. Just saying.
So crazy. I'm going to share this with you guys. I said I'm not far in this journey, but I'm going to do this, and this is going to tell me whether or not I need to keep going with astrology. Do you guys think I got my answer?
I love it. We're here for it.
Bring on the skeptics.
My favorite thing to say to the skeptics, and this one might be one of those slightly hot takes, is like, okay, so be skeptical, but, you know, the placebo effect has an effect. Like, even if it doesn't work, it's working. So just, you know, go with it. It's more fun if you do anyway.
This is very helpful.
I think when it comes to progressions, the thing that I noticed is you got Venus on your sun in the third house too currently, and so that's a lot of, you know, communication around things that you love too, and you know, with your progressed ascendant in Leo too, that also puts the sun as a major focus, and in Scorpio currently, you know, I think that again back to the spirituality and the you know, the astrology and the metaphysical for sure.
I'm really curious for the end of Liz's thought there.
Oh yeah, you're back.
Where did I leave off? Where did I cut off?
Galactic center.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just falling back into this, like really following into your intuition, because you have like a direct connection with a black hole that is the center of our galaxy that's associated with creator energy. So I definitely think you have a lot of divine insight, and allowing that to become 100% embodied moving forward in your life, I think would benefit you, because you're already tapped in. And we've said the word spirituality like a dozen times plus now. So I definitely just, you know, you got it in there. And maybe that Libra sun and moon and all that, it kind of gets in the way of you thinking that it's really you, but it's all a part of you. So yeah.
I'm glad you popped back in to finish.
Wonderful. All right, Anna, last one.
All right. I kind of was like giving it some thought, and I did have a couple, I guess, things I wanted to mention for focus, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I am really actively pursuing my soul purpose in trying to figure out what that is. I feel like I'm searching. I'm really, really searching. Um I'm also I'm contemplating a move back to like a city out of my hometown. I feel like I've been stuck a bit since COVID. I'm just getting out of like Saturn opposing my sun. And then one other note too that um I, um I would love to get feedback on if we have time is I have a yod in my chart, and it's to Eris. So I know Eris isn't on this, but I have Eris in Aries in the 7th house at 17 degrees. Um, and I know Eris is something like I've kind of looked into, and it's not maybe it's a bit like the asteroids of like it's not in everybody's wheelhouse. But if anybody did have any thoughts on that too, I'd also love to hear it.
Is there some way that you would suggest or ponder how that Eris yod might have shown up?
I've always I ever since I started looking into astrology, it has puzzled me that my 7th house is empty because I feel like I have such a focus on my relationships. Like I am very dedicated to personal, close um, relationships, friendships, partnerships. Um, and like I'm very passionate about the people in my life and um like a community and wanting that. I've always have been. And so um I guess in some ways it has always kind of felt like when I first saw the yod pointing to Eris in the 7th house, I was just kind of like, I feel like that's pointing to something. Like there's an answer there. That's a key to something that my um the importance of relationships in my life. I've always felt that personally, but kind of what is that? What does that maybe mean? Um, in thinking about like how it relates to Mars and Pluto, like I'm not sure, but yeah, I think also the area of relationships has been relationships either like coming into my life and sometimes like abruptly leaving my life um has spurred a lot of um my like almost been in situations that really forced me to grow and forced me to have to kind of reevaluate and change even at times I didn't want to.
Okay. Did you all hear her describe Aries in the 7th, Mars in the 7th, Aries passion in her relationships? So it's not empty. And then the other thing is Steve Forrest wrote a great article about Eris. And if you can find that, if you can't, email me or Kristin or get in the Discord or something, and I'll dig it up for you. But he wrote about both sides of it. And there hasn't been much written. But basically, what you were describing on the positive side is the non-shadow side of Eris, it's partnerships. But there's the discordia, and the discordia is very powerful. So there is a tension there. we can explore that, but your seventh house is not empty. You're governed by the springtime planet of passion and power in your seventh house. Very much so.
As a Libra rising, relationships do come off very important to you. Just your Venus ruled and in Virgo as well, and conjunct Mercury. You're a communicator and you like to communicate your love. Both are in retrograde, so I could see where there might be some frustration around wanting to maybe save people, and that can be hard when you're giving yourself to somebody so much and not getting that fully reciprocated. Now I did notice in your progress chart, so now being a Libra rising, you look to Venus as your chart ruler, and your chart ruler Venus is actually going to station direct this year. And so some of those things that you're dealing with, some of those holdbacks, might actually push forward with some direct motion from your chart ruler too. So I want to May 11th or 12th is the date that it'll station direct. And then two, right after it stations direct, there's also a Venus retrograde right after there in July. So it could just be some of that direct motion and then reevaluating after that too. And especially around your community and who you're surrounding yourself with, just because that'll be the house that it'll be. Your progressed Venus is in Leo right now. No, it's progressed back enough, and so you will have it moving direct in Leo and the Venus retrograde in Leo this year as well. So definitely, it's time to find your people.
It has definitely felt like that. Yep. There's been a lot of, I guess, shedding and change over the last year or two. And it's kind of like, they always say it's like making space for new things. When it's like when things leave, it's making space for new things. What, Kim, you said something, right? You were like the chaos something.
Yeah, chaos magic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing about Eris is that she doesn't like to be left out. And so I think maybe if we're going to like talk about her mythology, the whole golden apple, she wasn't invited to the wedding party. So she threw a golden apple into the goddesses, Venus, Pallas, all Juno, maybe another one. But anyways, they had a beauty competition because of her apple. And it was essentially because she got left out. So when you're talking about, you have a Libra ascendant, so you're already community oriented, already like a socialite, or at least like to be connected with people and socializing. So I think maybe like with that Eris on the other side, it might be kind of like this little reminder for you to gain strength in yourself versus always feeling like you need to be in some sort of community or connecting with everyone around you. And you said like the Eris is in 17 degrees. So wouldn't that be the second decan? So that would be Leo, right? Yeah,
you're correct. Yep.
And then you're a Leo sun. So I feel like it's really part of you in this life to hone in on your tribe and your crowd and surround yourself, like they're saying, with people who are going to be here to support you and listen to what you say. And maybe that Eris opposing you is to remind you like, hey, it's okay if you stand out or if you're not invited to the party because maybe their party sucks or like things like that. That's kind of what I'm picking up on.
Yeah, those are some really interesting points. Thank you.
I think the other thing that I had noticed when it comes transit-wise is you've got that Pluto sextile to Mars, and then let's see, it would be Neptune would be the other closest one. And then you've got Uranus opposing Pluto. And so it's creating a kite in your chart in the second house with Pluto at the lead. And so you're definitely with Uranus in Taurus right now, going through a really transformational time through your second house, and again, that's the house of your self-worth too, and you know how these people in these communities are respecting you as a person too, just who you are, you know.
Yeah, no, that's interesting because I think like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of just getting like started on some new things as well. Like I had a reading with Laura Taft, who, you know, I know is also featured on the podcast, and she was fantastic. And we really kind of dove into some of these things about talking about just like, you know, my gifts and life purpose and a direction to go in. And you know, we did talk about like things like community, but also with like having so much Virgo energy, also kind of focusing on, you know, the body and health and spirituality with a lot of 12th house energy and whatever. And I just started like a yoga teacher training course because I took that and was like, okay, I do need to be working more with my body and more like grounded work. And so there's kind of, I guess at this beginning of this year, there's different things happening where it's like kind of I'm maybe on the beginning of getting to know different communities of people, you know, different communities surrounding like interests I have, but it's all very new. So it's yeah, you know, I think I'm kind of like unsure, you know, when it comes to um communities of people. I think I'm much more in my comfort zone in one-on-one relationships, and in communities of people it feels like something I really want, but I don't kind of quite know.
Well,
Maybe.
I've loved your insight this whole time, so welcome. You're welcome here.
You have been very insightful, and I just want to let you know, Anna, as they said with me, I've really jumped out of my box, and in that uncomfortable, you will find your community. The yoga community is wonderful. I have a spiritual group of ladies I have met, and we had a women's circle on Sunday, and we talked about all the feelings and the emotions, and a medium was talking and letting us know from our guides from, you know, what was going on. It was like, wow, it's just like you will get there. It just takes time. You will get there.
Yeah.
Anna, have you found the Old Soul, New Soul podcast with Robert Glasscock?
Yes, I listened to I remember I listened to like all of the node episodes because I was doing like a deep dive in the nodes.
We did a series on the secrets of each sign. Go
Okay.
back or go listen to the one on Leo, because you were nailing the secret of Leo.
Oh geez. Okay. Yeah. You know, with I think a lot of times too, I look at my chart in whole sign, um, which I think, you know, it's great to look at different like house systems too, just for different perspective. But I've kind of wondered how like Chiron in Leo, like, you know, in the same sign as my sun, and I guess in whole sign, you know, yeah, being kind of more community focused. I've looked at that as well as like, I think there's some like wounds to heal here as well.
That shadow series, that shadow thing will help you a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I will definitely listen.
Also, Melissa found Steve's article on Eris, and I put it in the chat there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Thomas. It's a really great episode. As a Leo rising, I definitely found resonance in it too. I think that too, with Chiron sitting in your 10th, but 11th house ruled, it's again like, how you're showing up to the world, and just the people that you've been around. And Chiron is the wounded healer though, and so in that sense, with time comes healing and eventually your people.
Hmm.
I also wanted to add the North Node Juno conjunction really speaks to that one-on-one energy that you were talking about. Like that's definitely how I see Juno show up for me at least. So I'm wondering if that might resonate too, especially in the fourth house.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kim. Juno being the asteroid of partnerships and having it conjunct your North Node, I could definitely see where the one-on-one partnerships would be very, very important to you, other than just the Libra rising. Just kind of a definite explanation point on that as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into the asteroids. Like that's a pretty like unfamiliar territory for me.
My favorite is Asteroid Goddesses by Demetra George. So if you're looking for something, that's definitely the place to start.
And on her website, she actually has like a goddess report. So like you put in your chart and it kind of spits back like how the goddesses specifically interact with your chart. So that's something that I've been poking around with slowly. I think we're going to have a goddess play date.
Yep, that sounds like a plan.
I think all the charts tonight had some very interesting goddess energy in one way or another. So I feel like that's definitely a thing, even for our guy. And it's funny because it makes me think, Thomas, connecting with your feminine energy. It's like maybe that's part of it. It's that goddess energy. Have to throw the goddesses in your chart too sometime.
Well, and Lizzie started her podcast. She contacted me about a discussion regarding Ophiuchus, and it's like I could see that she was sensing this move that is where astrology is going to be headed.
Definitely like a lot more feminine energy in the future with astrology. And then, I mean, Demetra George definitely like is an innovative, she was ahead of her time. I think her book was made in the 90s. In the 90s?
Yes, it was the one that came out was actually a republish.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the original, I have it right here because let me see, I could get you a date because I know it said republished.
For some reason, I thought it was the 80s, but I don't know, somewhere around there.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah,
but anyway, it was
the first person.
It was early.
So, yeah. But Ophiuchus is interesting, different topic, but I've been kind of honing in. I thought at first like Ophiuchus was very like feminine, but now I'm starting to feel like Ophiuchus is like a nice blend of masculine and feminine energy.
Right, 84.
Yeah, but yeah, we're definitely like, I feel like the asteroid goddesses are going to be more of in our popular culture in the next like 10 years for sure.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
All right, wonderful. I'm going to move on to your progress chart. And I have to say, super personal. I also have my progress moon traveling through Scorpio right now, conjunct my Pluto, just like you. So I definitely I feel that as I was pulling your progressed chart. I understand. Big transformative energy with that conjunction for sure. Especially because you do have yours there with the double sextile to both your Virgo planets and the Capricorn as well. So you got those positive positive things behind it. But again, second house, we kind of talked about that earlier, having that be your lunar focus in this chart as well.
You were talking about wanting to move, right? Out of your hometown?
Yeah, I've been looking at I've been looking at maybe a move this
I think
spring.
it's definitely good for you because I mean you have the North Node in Capricorn. It looks like on the 18th degree-ish. It's very small. But anyways, so your South Node is in Cancer, so it's really for you to get out there outside of your comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been like dying to move, honestly. Like it's been about a year and a half of kind of just a lot of stuck energy, a lot of things getting in my way, a lot of like I made a plan and something happens. I made a plan, something happens. And I've been, just kind of looking ahead to this year like, okay, March, Aries, let's go, let's do this. Like, I want to move. I want to get closer to things I love and build and like be in a place that I can build a community again. I want to figure out what I'm doing, what I care about, So yeah, moving feels like a big part of that. It's something like I want to do it. Yeah, it's just been a lot of like all these little things keep happening that have gotten in my way.
Well, you have Saturn in the 4th house. Delays regarding the home, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to work through some of those. And Melissa had a good point.
What was my good point? Sorry, I'm getting really tired.
You've got a long drive too, but but it was just
being stuck.
Yeah, just to move through it.
That theme of us being stuck and just pushing through it, and like we all have that. I feel like in all of our charts. I don't know if it's like a lack of confidence thing or just I don't know. I think it's go time. Like light the fuel and let's help push each other through it.
I'll drop the I played for Melissa before we started the Bob Newhart "Stop It" video. I'll drop it in the chat here in just a second. But when you're feeling stuck, just stop it and take some action. Now, from somebody who lives in his car, I will tell you that changing geography can have a profound impact on your life. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Try it. If you're guided by intuition. And then look, you've got Uranus, Neptune straddling your nadir. So that's all about home and roots. So there are the surprises, the changes, the funniness, the oh my gosh, the not being able to execute the plan, the delay, Saturn, thank you, and the Neptune element that will just keep you chasing your tail forever. So get off of that Neptune confusion by pulling in some of your Mars energy. Mars is what, 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees away from your moon. So, just put some good fire into it and do something crazy and see what happens.
And then let us know.
Yeah. And if it's a cool place, let me know and I'll come there in the van.
Wow. Yeah, that'll send my Virgo Mars for a loop. We're like, we're just what? We're just gonna do it. There's no plan. Just go. What? Okay.
Well,
right.
and I'm looking at your solar arc here, and the chart on the right. Your sun is in Virgo in solar arc. It's 19 degrees Virgo. So for the last 19 years, you've had to plan everything. And guess what? You've got it for another 11. So, again, don't get stuck in that trench of not taking movements that, I mean, I doubt there's anybody on here who didn't hear the passion that you had for this change as you were describing it. It was oozing out of you. So just do it. Send us all your new address by the end of the week. Okay?
All right. Or at least I'll at least send like screenshots of, all right, it's going to be in this area. This.
When you feel uncomfortable, that means you need to do something. And I think that's something I've been learning personally, is being stuck in a comfort zone because I like it there. But when you feel that something's approaching you and it scares you and it's uncomfortable, I feel like that means we need to do it. We need to go for it and just trust that the divine and, you know, everybody guiding you they're gonna help you along the way, and it'll work out. It's scary as hell, I'll be honest, but I feel like it always works out once we just go for it.
That's kind of like what I ended up doing with this like yoga teacher training. I spent so much time, did all the research, did all the very Virgoan things, you know, I made the lists, whatever. And then it was just, I just had to pull the trigger. And I think there's been these questions of, well, is that the right thing? Well, like, is it the right thing, or is it the wrong thing? Or, well, what if it's not my life purpose? What if it's not the thing I'm going to do my whole life? And then I've had to just be like, but I'm going to try. And that's part of the journey, and that's part of the fun, and, just take the action and see where it goes.
I totally feel that, Anna, as a Virgo moon, like constantly like picking apart the fire sun sign, like, well, really? But like ultimately, like those Virgo things, like they still get to work on whatever situation you put yourself into. I feel like that is my, like, I can pick things apart and in whatever direction, but it kind of follows, I don't know, for me, like that Virgo moon energy. And also our Mars are conjunct in 17 Virgo, and like it just kind of, regardless of the situation, it'll be there to propel you forward and like still be offering those options and stuff.
Yeah. Like the fire's still behind it, even no matter what choice you make. Yeah.
See, your solar arc sun is at 19. So that means you've got 10 or 11 more years. Then it moves into Libra. So these Virgo years, this remaining Virgo decade, so basically for you, most of your 30s, transitioning then into your 40s, is laying the groundwork that is really going to be fulfilled in Libra. Everything Libra will take you to your 70s. So your most productive years, the years of both accumulated knowledge and wisdom, your 40s, 50s, 60s, are going to be spent in Libra. You see that? The solar arc sun moving 1 degree per year will move into Libra. Or to keep Delia happy, Libra. And so you need to be really thinking about taking that Virgoan organization, and Jupiter is leading you, by the way, 4 years. So play that. So as Jupiter starts to get to the cusp of Libra in 7 years, 6 years, call it 6. So you'll be what? What are you now? 31?
31. Yep.
In 6 years, 37. Perfect. I mean, I know you think, oh my God, I'm messing up my whole life. Your life hadn't begun yet. You just had a Saturn return. Like, you're just getting started. And when you look at it from where I am on the timeline, you go, oh my gosh, if I could trade places with you knowing what I know now, I wouldn't do that to you, number one. but let that Jupiter lead you into the success before you show up. It will pave the way. Jupiter is paving the way everywhere you go in this progressed chart. You see that?
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking Libra, planning for let your Virgo do its thing, because see, in the Book of Fire, Steve told the story of a solar arc progression out of Scorpio into Capricorn. And when I narrated that, I had to get out of the booth and go have a pillow cry, because he described me. He described the guy who, in his early 20s, had been born a Scorpio, and 20 years in, he turned into a solar arc Sagittarian, and he wanted to go to the Caribbean and play. And the chapter was living in Margaritaville. And for 30 years, he lived the island lifestyle. And he, as he said, he built boats and stepped on pop tops and Margaritaville every day, baby, And then 30 years down the road, he started to think about, well, maybe I should move back home because mom and dad are getting older. Maybe I should take this boat knowledge that I have, and I could either go open a boat shop or a repair shop, but I could turn it into a business that could serve me for the rest of my productive years. He started to think Capricorn. And what I realized is that all those years I had the pull to fulfill that Sagittarian heart inside of me, and I didn't do it. I lived for other people. And I lost those 30 years. Don't do that. The solar arc chart is one of the most important things you can look at in astrology, where that sun is. The secondary progressed moon is one of the most important things you can look at, because that's where your heart is. So don't miss these Virgo years, but let that Jupiter lead you into the Libra years. Libra is coming. Get ready.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. I actually just I'm in the 101 course, and coming up to this, I realized that I knew a little bit about solar arcs, but I hadn't really studied them, or hadn't really kind of learned exactly what it was and how to read the chart. And I listened to your section in the 101 course on solar arcs and how to read that in a chart. And yeah, it felt like this huge aha moment where I could see all the ways that I had felt like I'd been really trying to hold on to Leo things in my life. And but I'm this person, and but I do this, and but this is how I am. And then it felt like permission to no, my solar arc sun is going through Virgo. That it's permission to really lean into those things, care about my health, care about what I'm building, care about forming a home, just these more Virgoan things. But yeah, so thank you. I'm definitely going to be looking ahead to my Libra years, but I'm also really enjoying the Virgo energy.
Yeah, and if you never looked at an astrology chart, your heart would lead you there. But I'm just saying, don't give that to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Live your chart.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, live your chart is a great great thing for everybody, I mean, well, guys, that was wonderful. You all had so much great insight, and I just want to thank you all for coming with your charts and your questions and your wonderful insight. That was really, really great. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, everyone.
I never could have imagined that when we put this out there, that this collection of amazing people would have come together on Tuesday night. I honor each one of you for your contributions, for your heart, your soul, your journey, and for your desire to live on your highest timelines.
Mhm.
I can't wait for our next astrological play date of sorts. That is a big thing that I am obsessed with. That's kind of where I think this idea came from.
Yeah.
Kristen and I were doing astro play dates, and it's
Oh,
like, I want more of that. Now we have a big group, healthy. My heart is full. I love you guys.
I'll tell you what, when you think about 3 podcasts, Sunday night, and now the book study and these pop-ups, what night are we not doing astrology?
Ew, who doesn't do astrology
Very
every
few.
night?
There aren't many.
No, I've already signed up. Like, this is my life now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it should be every day.
Exactly.
Planets are always moving. Always moving.
Always.
We now suspend all of this stuff so you can go out and make some money, come back. No, you guys have been amazing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to end the live, so you folks on YouTube and Facebook. And I just kind of had this. If any of you guys want to, those of you on StreamYard here, if you want to hang around, I'll leave it up and we can chat. Melissa needs to hit the road whenever you're ready, but not running you out. But she has about a 45-minute drive. So if any of you want to just stay on, I'll hang and chat. I don't know if any of the rest of you are interested, but make that available if you would like. So this has just been such a great group that maybe there's some little afterglow that you'd like to just have some, powwow. Very informal. All right, I'll end the broadcast here, and I hope I don't cut us all off. I don't think it will. If it does, ciao, but I don't think it will.